Well, there are certainly huge elements of financial inclusion. There are 2 million plus people in the UK who only use cash. That's not a choice necessarily, that's because that's the only payment method they've got. They may not have a bank account, they may not have any plastic cards. So that's very important that they are given payment choice. I would want to emphasise that the really important figure, which came out of the Access to Cash review that reported fairly recently, is that over 25 million people in the UK, half the adults in this country, say that they would be seriously inconvenienced without cash. So I'm going for the majority here. I'm not arguing for just a few million people who obviously need special consideration because they only use cash. It's a much bigger picture than that. It's those who need to use cash, but the much larger number, not just in the UK but everywhere, who want to use cash. So it comes back to payment choice. Why should they not be allowed payment choice? I mean, we only have to go back 50 years to the 1960s, where cash was the only payment choice available, and the public seemed very happy in the 60s. They had the Rolling Stones, they had the Beatles, they had endless summers, they had flower power, they had space exploration, and of course the first ATM. So lots of things to get excited about in the 1960s. Not a bad time, and that's when cash was the only payment method basically available. So we're not looking to go backwards though. We don't think we need a situation where only cash is accepted. Clearly the public have many choices now, but let's keep the choices open. Let's keep that menu extensive, and on any payment choice menu we need cash. I think the other thing though that's becoming a big issue here in the UK and in other countries is access to cash. We've had a situation where the Link ATM network, and nearly all ATMs in the UK are connected to Link, has reduced the payments that are made to ATM operators for delivering services to the public, such as cash withdrawals. This is meaning that basically there are now 10% fewer ATMs in the UK than there were 18 months ago, and also of the remaining ATMs, quite a number have moved from free to use to pay to use. Now, of course, the public don't like paying for ATM transactions, so that means that 80% of the customers for those ATMs just disappear. Now, we're very worried about this because in a year's time, the powers that be, the authorities, will announce, oh, we've seen a huge reduction in ATM transactions. Well, of course you will have seen a huge reduction in ATM transactions because ATMs are now charging. I believe that probably as many as 300 million ATM transactions might disappear in the next year because of charging at ATMs. And what does that mean? That the people who argue against cash will turn around and say, well, cash isn't nearly as popular as it was. Well, of course, that lack of popularity will have been forced on the public by making ATMs charging. So once again, unless the financial services industry, working with Link, can get its act together to ensure that in every community in the UK there is free access to cash, what we need to see is legislation, the government taking action to ensure that under law the public must have good free access to cash in every community in the UK. So the industry has a short period of time to sort it out amongst themselves, but I would say only 6 months. If that isn't forthcoming, that solution isn't forthcoming, then before the end of this year, the government needs to take action. We can't wait. We're in a very serious position here where cash may become unavailable in huge numbers of towns and communities around the UK, or at least free access to cash will become unavailable. So that can't be allowed to happen. We must have legislation if necessary to ensure that free access to cash is available everywhere in the UK to every UK citizen who wants to have that access.